You mean there's not one place to rent in all of Del Boca Vista? That's a great episode. Darian, how's your day today? It's election day up here in Canada. It's kind of like football, right? If you're happy the way your organization's going, things are good, you keep that general manager, you keep that coach. If you need to switch it up, got to look elsewhere.
Today's your day. Yeah, today's your day.
And that's the thing about elections, man. There are going to be people on each side. There are going to be some disappointed people, and there are going to be some people super ecstatic. So that's the beauty of it. I like your sports analogy there.
Would you rather be the Prime Minister of Canada or the quarterback of the Saskatchewan Roughriders? Because both you're on the hot seat.
Oh, man, the Riders all day. I couldn't take the pressure of leading the country. I tell you that. The pressure of leading Rider Nation was enough. So to have 10 times that pressure, no way.
Hey, it's CFL draft day tomorrow. Maz and I were talking about this in hour one. We got to talk to your old teammate Ryan Dinwiddie in hour one as well, so we'll get into that in a bit. But it's the CFL draft, and we're going to get into the NFL draft with you a little bit later because I've been waiting to talk about that. But the CFL draft is just so different, and it's Jeremy O'Day, Dave had some clips. You got to do your research because, you can go take the best player available, but you may never see that guy's eyeballs.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, right? You try to look at it as you want to fill these holes on your team, or you're looking for a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact. But the problem is, even though he may not have been drafted, he still has those NFL aspirations. And on top of that, he may be good enough to even make a team. So you have to be very strategic about how you approach this because, like you said, a guy may never step foot into your front office, into your doors, and be a part of your team. So it's a crazy process, but you have to make sure you look at those guys who are dead set on coming to the CFL.
Darian, we've talked about it before. Even last year, I think one of the first times we ever had you on the radio, you had said the Saskatchewan Roughriders need a receiver that can take the top off of defense. I don't know if one of those guys is available as a Canadian in this draft. If there is one sitting there at number 4 for the Riders, do you still go after that to address that need?
I don't think you look for that in the Canadian draft. I think you either attack that in free agency or you look for a sleeper that you can find at one of these Florida camps or these camps you go and do your scouting. But I wouldn't do that. I think, the CFL draft is for building depth, and that's looking at your offensive line, your linebackers, and your defensive backs, guys who are staples, guys who are super athletic, who can make plays on special teams. And I mean, you've seen the Riders for the past couple of years have problems with the depth at O-line, so you can never have enough good Canadian O-linemen, and I think that's an area that you have to look at every single year.
When you came up, your first time and at CFL, where the heck am I going? What is going on? Who was the first Canadian that impressed you?
Andy Fantuz. I mean, he was coming off. We came in the exact same year. He was coming off the Heck Creighton Award as the best Canadian player, and it was just surprising just seeing how talented he was. Honestly, I mean, you're blind when you come up here, right? You don't know what to expect. You know that there's a ratio. You know that there's going to be a certain amount of Canadians, and you just don't know what type of talent they may have. So just seeing him as a rookie, just going out there, and we had some of the best DBs in the league at that time with Eddie Davis, Omar Morgan, a great defensive back, Davin Bush. I mean, some great CFL players, and the way he just impressed me during that first CFL camp, I'll never forget that.
Am I reimagining history in my brain or being nostalgic that, let's say, the Fantuz era? Do you think Andy would be getting NFL looks if it was today and a guy like that was coming out? Because maybe there was at the time, but it just seems like coming out of Canadian college, Canadian draft to the Riders. Would Fantuz be getting American looks today?
I think he would definitely get more looks coming right out of university. And not only that, maybe he would even go to an American
Yes.
university. I think
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
difference now.
All right.
These guys
That's
are,
how the world
you know,
has changed.
yeah, exactly. And you can look at what Odell Willis, I don't know if you guys know what Odell Willis is doing out in Edmonton, but he's bringing, head coaches, coordinators from tons of universities in the States, and he's bringing them to Edmonton, and he's having a combine. And Shamad Chambers is out in Ontario working with these high school kids, just getting them exposure, putting them in the eyes of some of these, smaller college schools where guys can have scholarships. I think there's still maybe a stipend that some Canadian universities give kids, but no kids are going on full rides. And he's just giving these kids opportunities. So I think that's the biggest thing now. These kids will go straight to university on scholarships coming out of Canada.
And we're seeing it so much now. Alec Manor that just got drafted. We talked to Del Duncan Busby. When you look at where he went to high school, all of a sudden in the States, where a Joe, these kids that are Canadian, that are so good, they're going down to these high school, they call them prep schools, I take it. It's a lot like hockey has always been. These kids are going down where at Fantus probably would have been going to high school down in the States, maybe, Darian, and then exploring the NCAA.
Exactly. Like you said, I mean, it's just the exposure these guys are getting at an early age. And, I think these schools are realizing that Canada has tons of athletes, guys who can compete right away, guys who can help you. And with this NIL money now coming into play, you can go look around the world for talent, right? There's no stopping you from going to, tell a kid you'll give him $100,000 or you'll give his family a certain amount of money to get his kid there. So it's just the landscape totally has changed in college football, and it definitely can benefit a lot of good Canadian athletes.
One of the most intriguing parts of the draft tomorrow night is that the Stampeders have, 3 picks in the first 10 or 11, I think. I'm very curious to see John Hufnagel and Dave Dickinson, what they do. For 2 decades, they've been the best talent evaluators in the CFL. And I had mentioned that Ryan Dinwiddie today is the quarterback whisperer of the CFL, but talent overall, that's a John Hufnagel specialty. Were you always intrigued, even as a player, when this time around a year would come around to see what the Stamps would do?
Of course. I mean, they were always the team you looked at. I mean, they were consistently, 14-2, always had a solid record. And you always looked at the moves they made. But when you speak of Dinwiddie, you have to look at the fact that, since he's left Calgary, everything has gone downhill pretty much. So maybe Dinwiddie was a big part of, the success that they were having, post my era, so to speak. So, he's a great coach, a great football mind. And look, Calgary never always had the best talent. They just didn't make mistakes. They were well coached. They were never out of place, and they made plays when they had to. And that's not taking anything away from your Charleston Hughes or anything like that. But when you just look up and down their roster, they just never had guys across the board that you were really, really afraid of.
It's funny you say that, because I'm coaching my flag team, and I'm saying, listen, we're going to be out-skilled, out-athlete, whatever you want to say. And that's how football is, whether it's from a flag to high school to college. Football is one of those sports where coaching, execution is so key.
Absolutely. I mean, you just look at our roster, during our time, and this is not to take anything away from the guys we had on offense, because we would even talk about this amongst each other and across the league. They're like, how do you guys do it? It's just, we had no one that was just super special athletically, no one 6'5", just out jumping someone for touchdown passes or anything like that. We just played together so long that we just knew each other. We were just locked in from the film room all the way to the field, and it showed on game day, just the chemistry we had. So I take, learning from that, I take the team that has that chemistry any day over just a team of super athletic dudes who are just run and don't really know what's going on.
Now, Darian, as a fan, those were the games that I loved the most and cherished when you guys were the underdogs and there was no chance of winning, but somehow you did it. And I think a lot of fans maybe feel the same way. Another thing that we asked Dinwiddie about with Wynton McManus, not since Razor Ramon has anybody rocked a toothpick like that. Apparently, he plays with it in his mouth with his mouth guard. Have you ever known of a player in any of your years of football? Like, there's guys that play maybe with chew in or something like that, but with a toothpick? That could be dangerous.
Yeah, that's very dangerous, man. That's a big time hazard, and that's something I wouldn't dare do. But look, it has to be something he's been doing this entire career. Is working for him. You know, guys have little things and superstitions and things like that they do, and this is just one of the crazier ones I've heard about. But look, whatever works, man. He's a Grey Cup winning linebacker, captain of that team, and it works for him.
That now that I think about it, Dinwiddie could have been just pulling our chains, Maz. He could have been like, I'm talking to these two rubes in Saskatchewan. I'm going to tell him that he plays with the toothpick. Maybe he doesn't. What? But
I wouldn't doubt it though.
When you talk about, you've heard of guys do crazy things or play with crazy. Anything that you can share? Anything that comes to mind, Darian, from former teammates? Maybe it was superstition or something that they did.
Yeah, we had a guy, and I'm not going to say a name because, I'm not sure. Maybe if I give him a call after the show and he allows me to say his name next week, I'll do that.
You can't text him? So is it Mike McCullough?
McCullough would be the guy walking around the locker room laughing at you because what he thinks what you're doing is so crazy. So that's McCullough. But we had a defensive lineman, man, and he would just want to get slapped as hard as you possibly could. So one of our trainers, he would just ask him, slap me as hard as you can. I need about 4 or 5 of them, just to wake me up, just to get me going in the face, just open hand, just rear back as hard as you can. And I need multiple slaps at that. So it was just the craziest thing. He'd go out there, face red, just basically a handprint on his face. It was crazy.
Oh, that reminds me of the Chappelle Show, Charlie Murphy episode.
Oh, yeah.
That is good.
Guys are nuts, man.
Are we switching gears to the NFL draft? Because hold on. Oh, not yet? Okay.
I want before we get to NFL, it's Darian Durant. We have him every Monday for Campbell Safety Consulting. I want to ask you, because we didn't have you on last week after we talked to the commissioner, new CFL commissioner, everything you heard last week from him. You buying that stock like everybody else?
Absolutely. Times have changed, and we're in the digital era of sports and of everything. And I think with his TSN background and his understanding of numbers and what it takes to bring excitement and viewership to the league, I think you're in great hands if you're the league. And I mentioned last week or the week before, some game of the week type activities, something you need to do each and every week to bring more attention, whether it's concerts, whether it's celebrities coming in. I think he'll do that. He knows what it takes to get viewership up. And, not only that, you have to look at the dollar side of things and salary caps. And, with this deal with TSN possibly coming up, it could be great for the league. So you look at Instagram, you look at, Facebook, all these other areas where the league can have some improvement. I think he'll be able to bring that to the league.
Now we can go to NFL draft, Mass.
Cam Ward taken number 1, University of Miami, Tennessee. Great. But once the Shedeur Sanders story started unfolding, the beauty, the bow on top, the cherry on top of the sundae would have been the Dallas Cowboys select Shedeur Sanders. The internet really would have melted down, not only with the Cowboys fans, but with Sanders. You didn't happen to prank Shedeur, did you, and tell him you were phoning as Jerry Jones and you were welcoming him to the club?
No, I understand how lonely it could be as you're waiting to hear your name called. So not to hear my name called on draft day, I wouldn't dare bring that upon Shedeur, man. But that's just how it goes. It's funny when you think about it, but at the same time, I just don't like the nature of that.
Yeah, could you imagine the humble pie that has had to been eaten in the past 48 hours from being a potential first round pick to sliding to 5 and going to Cleveland?
Yeah, so Cleveland's quarterback room, Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Toronto Argonauts, we caught this after we got off the line with Dinwiddie, they add Shedeur Sanders to the negotiation list because I was thinking this morning. I was like, listening to Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, which I want to get to in a second. I'm like, I wonder if a CFL team will add him because if he wants to play, I don't think he's playing there anytime soon, unless I'm crazy.
No, I don't think so. But you just never know. And I think I don't like to believe in conspiracies and things like that, but just the way this is set up, you look at it, he's going to Cleveland, one of the worst franchises in history when it comes to having a quarterback and being able to build a team. And not only that, he's going into a situation where he has to compete with not only another rookie that came in with him, but a first-round pick in Kenny Pickett from 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So they realized that his dad has coached him his entire life. Everything was given to him. He never had to compete. So what do? They put him in a position where he has to compete with not only one or two guys, but three. If you add Deshaun Watson to this list, Deshaun Watson signed a 5-6 year deal with Cleveland as well. So I'm not sure if his contract is up in the next couple of years. So just the situation he's in, they put him in unfamiliar territory. So we're really going to see what he's made of and see if he's willing to compete. And I think he is, man. I think that he'll have that chip on his shoulder and go in there and compete.
One of the things I like about this move, not only with Sanders, but with Gabriel, Quinn Ewers, all that, with the economy of the NFL, Darian, and you know this, because it's the Brock Purdy model. When you draft these quarterbacks in the later rounds, you have to pay them so much less money than what a first rounder is going to make. And you get them for 5 years, and that's your window to win, where you don't have to spend 50 to 75 million a year on them. So the beauty of this is it's the new Brock Purdy model. Take these guys with talent, the cheapest contracts they're ever going to be on, they may turn out to be stars and lead your team, because that's how you have to build a roster in the NFL now. Because look at San Francisco. Purdy's got to get paid, and they have to decimate the roster because there's just not enough money left around.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a problem. But I think on the flip side of that, you'll now see more quarterbacks staying in college where they'll make more money on their NIL deal. And now they'll be more, pro ready, so to speak, when they leave. You won't see as many sophomores and juniors and guys leaving to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks because they're making more money staying in college, and they'll develop more. You'll see more 3, 4, 5 year guys then going to the NFL. You won't see as many sophomores and juniors leaving early because it's just not worth it financially. And, you see teams don't care anymore. They want guys who they feel can play. They don't, these mock drafts and all these things are now going out the window. Teams are doing their due diligence because, look, these front office guys, they don't have much longevity, man. You're 1-2 years and done. So you better do your research and bring in a guy who can help you right away. And there are just too many misses with these young guys, and they'll start looking at guys who are more ready to play.
I can't wait to see how this plays out. What was your take on what was it? Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbricht's son that pranked Shedeur, and that's why I was watching ESPN today, and they were going off. Like, they were going off on this kid basically should be, they were talking punched in the face, da-da-da. If you're watching the stream, this is the video. He should have never had the number. Got it off his dad's computer. It's a bad look for the dad. First off, what's your take on it?
Now, if the dad had nothing to do with the son getting the number, then you can't blame the dad.
No,
I mean,
you
this
can't.
is a 21-year. Yeah, I mean, this is a 21-year-old young man who understands what he's doing, who went on his dad's computer behind his back and got this information. So let's keep the dad out of this. Unless the dad said, "Here, son, here's his number," then he has nothing to do with that. So I wouldn't blame him at all. But I just try to, yes, it was dead wrong. It's something he shouldn't have done, but these are kids. I mean, I think of the things I did in college that were just wrong. And the problem was, I just wish he wouldn't have filmed himself doing it.
Yeah,
That's the problem with this social media age, is like, if you're going to try to do a prank call, which you should try to be as discreet as possible and not let anyone know who you are, then why would you film yourself doing it and then put it out for not only do you film yourself, it's one thing to have it in your phone, but then you hit send to let the world know it's you. That's just the problem with these young kids and social media.
So the thing, Stephen A. Smith, like I said, they went off on this poor kid. Not poor kid. What I think it's actually hilarious, just who it was directed to. One of probably the most cockiest, families that we've seen come through the NFL draft in a while. And then Stephen A. Smith goes, the disrespect that this is to the Sanders family. And then I wish I would have been there. I would have jumped in and been, what about the disrespect that Dion gives every single time he does a presser to a reporter that says something bad about him? He doesn't answer their questions, or he just that's disrespectful. So, hey, payback is a you-know-what. I think somebody should hire this kid for creativity purposes.
You know what? I do agree with you to a certain extent. I think that the way they handled Dion and Shedeur, the way they handled this draft process was very cocky, and shouldn't have been done. There are tons of former pros whose sons have gone in the draft and they've stayed out of the way and they've just let things happen. And I think Dion should have did the same thing. If this had happened to a 6th or 7th round guy, we wouldn't even hear about it. But because it was Shedeur Sanders, it's a big deal. And I don't like that aspect of it as well.
They probably shouldn't have retired his jersey number before the NFL draft. Save that for the season, because I think that was the final.
That's crazy.
And multiple reports are out there that in the pre-draft meetings, he's not a good interview. He seemed very disinterested. And when it came to the football stuff, he didn't know. When they were talking about installing plays, he didn't get what they were asking for. And multiple people said the exact same thing. So not everybody in the NFL was wrong on letting this guy fall to the 5th round.
Man, this is a
21-year-old kid,
right?
Yeah, it is. It's a job interview. And the coach's kid filming it for Instagram, how do you become famous now? Get a reel on Instagram, hope it goes viral. That's the cred that kids are looking for these days. Is it wrong? Yes. Funny? Yes. And I think a lot of people are giving this kid a pass because it was Sanders and just how they've behaved in not an NFL way leading up to what they're doing.
We have to lighten up a little bit. I mean, it's just a prank, and there was no harm done. And I mean, of course, it was the biggest day of his life, but I think the days leading up to the draft should have been important to Shedeur as well, not just what happened on draft day. And the way he handled the biggest job interview of his life was just not the way you do things. And if you're the quarterback of an organization, you have to carry yourself a certain way. You have to, handle all of the off the field things a certain way, and he's just not presenting himself right now as the guy these billionaire owners want to lead their organization.
Before we go, I am now going to Rolodex in my brain every Saskatchewan Roughrider player that ever played with you to try and figure out who the dude was that needed to be slapped in the face before every game 4 to 5 times to get his juices flowing. It's a little trivia here on the SportsCage. Okay.
I'll send him a text and ask him if I can reveal his name. I'll do that.
And on the point of the commissioner and making the game more entertaining, maybe that's what we need, a duel at midfield pregame, just a slap off. Start that. Well, very XFL.
Well, no, Dana White, he's got that whole slap thing in Vegas or whatever, where dudes just slap each other in the face, and that's a thing. So maybe this guy wants to be part of that.
Maybe
Must
he
be
is.
something
new revenue stream.
Darian's going to let us know. All right, Doubles. Thanks today. Good job. You're sounding great. Your new home studio, by the way. Got to say
Yes,
that.
I'm excited. I'm excited, man. Thank you.
Right on.